Welcome to Advocate with Dr. Lowe, where we aspire each and every day to eradicate the silence of good people who allow bad things to happen. We do this in order to provide a new and glorious path forward for all. Our conversation will be based on the teachings of my latest book entitled Shadow Tolerance, Your Guide to Accepting Racial Difference. And we shall begin. We're going to talk a little bit today about personal accountability in race relations. And we're going to start this podcast by talking about Tom. Um, Tom is a hardworking American who doesn't understand why people don't love America. Tom happens to be of white ancestry, and he believes in the American dream, or shall I say, being a patriot. Tom is tied up in his own experiential lens of how life is supposed to be. He feels that racism, prejudice, bigotry, all of those things only exist because blacks and other minorities won't conform. They refuse, or they do this by refusing to take advantage of opportunities given to them. And even if those opportunities were limited, he feels you should still take advantage of them. I agree. Tom believes in the premise of pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, which basically involves accepting your plight, going and getting a job, and allowing capitalism through market swings to solve all racial and social disparities. A lot of people want to know what that means. It's basically, if some company is discriminating or has shown signs that they're treating people unfairly, just don't go buy their product, and eventually they'll go out of business, and then all of a sudden the rights or the wrongs that were perpetrated against any type of underprivileged minority will eventually become a money issue. And as it becomes a money issue, people start to take notice, and then all of a sudden, voila, no more racism. He believes in utopia, and that this utopia for all will eventually come over time if you just let things work out, let nature take its course. And besides, white racism only possesses a very, 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 very small number of people. Those people are irrelevant. All you need to do is just ignore them. Tom would say, "Why is my point so hard to understand?" Tom yells as he angrily slams his fist on the counter. "You people are much too sensitive. Just get a job, work hard, and stop complaining." Well, in Advocate, we like to look at situations and try to solve them in a rational and reasonable way. And let me start by saying that Tom is inherently a good person. I play tennis with people like Tom every day. They're awesome people. Tom means no harm. He just wants things to work out, and he believes that things will work out if people, more specifically blacks and other members of marginalized communities, just get a job. And besides, McDonald's is always hiring. Tom's perspective on race and sensitivity reflects a common misunderstanding of the complexities, the comprehensive approach surrounding systemic racism, and the lived experiences of marginalized communities. And I'm going to talk about several reasons why his viewpoint is flawed. First thing is the oversimplification of systemic issues. Tom's suggestion to just get a job and work hard ignores the systemic barriers that many black individuals and members of marginalized communities face in the workforce, such as discrimination in hiring practices or unequal access to education and resources, and not to mention other socioeconomic disparities. These factors can significantly hinder one's ability to succeed regardless of effort. Then you have the individual versus collective experience. Tom's viewpoint focuses on individual responsibility, which is a good thing, but it doesn't acknowledge the historical and ongoing injustices that impact black and marginalized communities. The legacy of slavery, segregation, and discrimination have long lasting effects that cannot be resolved simply by personal effort. Uh, there's also a flaw or a misconception of the dismissal of valid emotions. By labeling concerns about race as too sensitive, Tom diminishes the legitimate feelings and experiences of those who face discrimination on a daily basis. Sensitivity to racial issues often stems from real experiences that happen each and every day of injustice, pain, and trauma in some cases. Dismissing these emotions can further alienate individuals and perpetuate many misunderstandings. The next thing is Tom ignores the intersectionality. So let me explain what that means. Race intersects with other identities such as gender, class, sex, which can compound experiences of discrimination. Tom's perspective may overlook how these intersections create unique challenges for individuals within the black community or other marginalized communities. He's ignoring the cultural context as well. Discussions about race are deeply rooted in cultural context and in history. Tom's approach lacks an understanding of the social dynamics at play, including how important it is to have dialogue and awareness in addressing racial issues. And the last but not least, it doesn't take into consideration how important it is to advocate. I mean, complaining or raising awareness about racial issues is often a form of advocacy. It can lead to social change and better understanding of systemic injustices. So if we just not talk about it, or in the case that Tom is or has issues with, and that is complaining about it, we don't advocate, and then all of a sudden people feel as if there's no problems to be addressed. Tom's perspective might inadvertently discourage important conversations that can lead to progress. In summary, Tom's viewpoint is flawed because it oversimplifies. I'm going to say that again. Tom's viewpoint is flawed because it oversimplifies the complex systemic issues, dismisses valid emotion responses, and fails to recognize the historical and cultural context having to do with race relations. A more nuanced understanding of these dynamics is essential for meaningful dialogue and progress towards what we all should want, and that's equality. Recognizing these biases requires a lot of introspection, a willingness to face the parts of ourselves that operate on autopilot. That means, sorry about that. That means we continue to do things without really giving it much thought. Engaging in self reflection is a powerful tool for uncovering these hidden biases. Um, there are certain tests like the implicit association test, which is an innovative tool designed to measure the strength of associations between, concepts like race and evaluations such as what's good or what's bad. This test can reveal implicit preferences that contradict our declared beliefs. Additionally, reflecting journal prompts. So, writing things down to offer a space to candidly explore thoughts and feelings about race. You constantly, during this journaling process, you ask yourself, when have I felt most uncomfortable discussing, in this particular example, race? Or what assumptions do I make about people who are different from me? Which goes back to tolerance. Use this bias recognition format in the form of worksheets to dominate these reflections, these questions. When have I felt most uncomfortable about discussing race? Or what assumptions do I make about people who are different from me? This provides a tangible record of our journey towards greater awareness. See, there's an impact of personal biases on relationships that can be profound. Imagine a casual interaction at work where a colleague unknowingly commits a microaggression. Perhaps it's a subtle remark about someone's accent or a dismissive comment about their cultural practices. I refer to those as microaggressions. These seemingly minor incidents, often born from unconscious bias, meaning you don't think about it, you just say it or do it, can accumulate, affecting the atmosphere and dynamics within an organization as a whole as these microaggressions accumulate. In the workplace, this bias can influence decisions on hiring, promotions, and team collaboration. So it starts off as a microaggression, but it builds up to the point where hiring decisions are made based on these microaggressions. Promotions are made, or decisions on promotions and who gets promoted and who doesn't, are based on some of these microaggressions. Team collaborations as well, leading to an environment where not everyone feels valued or included. Consider how these biases shape the stories we tell ourselves about others and how they influence the way we engage with those around us. So it doesn't have to be a active process, a willingness to discriminate, a willingness to prejudge, a willingness to be engage in bigotry. It just has to be passive, where we can all say, well, you know what? That's not me. But maybe it is. To mitigate the influence of these biases, we must actively seek out diverse perspectives. That means perspectives that may or may not concur with our lens on life. Challenge yourself to step outside your comfort zone and engage with individuals whose backgrounds differ from that of your own. Attend cultural events, read books by authors from underrepresented groups, participate in dialogue circles that encourage open and honest conversations about race. Kind of like what we do here on Advocate. Implement mindfulness techniques to pause and reflect upon reacting and how you react. Um, you will soon notice a bias surfacing, or when you do, take a moment to breathe and question its validity. Consider the source and where it aligns with your values and beliefs. Sometimes you say things that if you really gave it some thought, maybe you would reconsider saying those things. Practicing mindfulness, and that's what that's called, can help you become more aware of your thought patterns, allowing you to respond thoughtfully rather than reflexively. Self reflection exercise means identifying unconscious biases. You have to take a moment to sit quietly and reflect on a recent interaction where you felt uncomfortable or unsure. Use the journal to write down the details of this encounter, focusing on your thoughts and your feelings. How did you feel? How did you think? What assumptions did I make about the other person after I heard this particular comment of bias? How might my biases have influenced my perception or my behavior? Consider seeking feedback from someone you trust to gain additional insights about your blind spots as it refers to biases. And you do this exercise regularly to deepen your self awareness and commitment to personal growth. By engaging in these practices, you can begin to unravel the complex web of unconscious biases that shape your daily life. This process is not about erasing your biases. You probably can't do that anyway, but rather about bringing them into the light where you can, or where they can be examined and understood. With awareness comes the opportunity for change, allowing you to build more authentic and inclusive relationships. And that's the important thing. You want real, authentic, and real inclusive relationships in your life. Remember, the path to racial tolerance begins with personal accountability. You have to know yourself and be responsible for the things that you say and for the things that you think in order for those biases not to show their ugly heads. It requires a commitment to ongoing reflection, ongoing action. It challenges you to confront the biases that limit your ability to connect with others genuinely. The power of personal accountability is this. Imagine standing at a crossroads where each path represents a choice about how you respond to the world. Personal accountability in race relations means choosing the path where you own your actions and your beliefs. It is not enough to say something, then dismiss it as trivial or it doesn't matter. That means you just don't respect the other side. You see, personal accountability is about recognizing that your words and deeds have the power to harm or heal, and that you have a responsibility to make sure they align with your values of equality and respect. Accountability, or this form of accountability, is not about self blame, it's not about self awareness and commitment to growth. It involves understanding that you have a role in the broader narrative of racial justice, not one that just requires a conscious effort to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Ownership of personal growth means actively seeking out knowledge and experiences that challenge and expand your understanding of race. So it's more than just on the cover, it goes beneath the skin, as an example, or just as a matter of saying. It's about being open to change and willing to make adjustments when confronted with new insights. So when you learn something new, instead of just putting it at the back and never learning from it or never being able to execute what you learned, you actually take it out and you make sure it's something that guides your thoughts in the future, your actions in the future. Taking responsibility for your actions can lead to a um, profound degree of positive change, both within yourself and in the communities that you live and engage with um, active thinking about what is going to happen when you do things right, as opposed to doing things wrong. When you hold yourself accountable, you become a trustworthy ally in diverse communities, not just in monolithic communities where you're one of many people that look and sound just like you. People are more likely to engage with you and become a person that shares their experiences and collaborates on initiatives when they see you are someone who takes responsibility for your impact. The trust fosters deeper connections and can lead to a transformative partnership. Moreover, accountability enhances personal relationships by improving communication. And that's what we want to do. We want to communicate, but we want improved communication. Acknowledging your mistakes and committing to doing better opens the door for an honest dialogue and mutual respect. It's about showing that you value the perspectives and experiences of others and that you're willing to do any work necessary to support them. Of course, this approach can strengthen bonds, which is good, and create an environment where everyone feels heard and everyone feels valued. In order to maintain this level of personal responsibility, consider adopting a structured framework. Start by setting personal goals related to racial justice. These could be as simple as reading a book by a Black author each month or attending a diversity workshop. The key is to make these goals specific, measurable, and attainable, keeping yourself accountable to them over time. Still, yet another effective strategy is to utilize accountability partners or groups. These are usually individuals or collectives that or who share your commitment to racial equity and can offer support, feedback, and encouragement. Regular check ins with these partners can help you stay on track and identify areas for improvement. This network not only holds you accountable, but also enriches your journey by providing, more diverse perspectives and experiences to learn from. Stories of individuals who have embraced personal accountability. This kind of illustrates the powerful impact it can have. Consider the case of an activist who began her journey with a limited understanding of racial issues but was determined to make a difference. By setting small, achievable goals and seeking mentorship from seasoned advocates, she gradually kind of expanded her knowledge and influence. Her commitment to personal growth and accountability allowed her to transform her passive observer to a proactive leader in her community. She spearheaded various initiatives that brought her together with people from various backgrounds to discuss and address racial inequalities and fostered a sense of unity and purpose within the community. Still, yet in another example, a company recognized the need for change within its corporate culture. The leadership of the particular company took a stand acknowledging past mistakes and diversity practices and committed to a path of accountability. They sort of implemented diversity training that went beyond mere compliance, which was focusing on empathy and understanding, but went further by setting clear objectives and regularly assessing their progress. They cultivated an environment where employees felt empowered to speak up and contribute to a more inclusive workplace. The company's transparency then and willingness to accept responsibility not only improved the internal dynamics, but also enhanced its reputation and its appeal to a broader customer base. So these examples demonstrate that personal responsibility is a powerful tool for fostering change. It requires courage, humility, and a willingness to engage in difficult conversations. Yet the rewards are tangible, leading to stronger, more authentic relationships and a deeper sense of purpose in this fight for racial justice. And the last thing I want to talk about before we dismiss is overcoming white fragility and defense mechanisms. Just imagine a conversation about race heating up, the tensions are rising as uncomfortable truths are laid out to bear, and then suddenly someone becomes defensive, perhaps a raised voice or a flushed hand, um, shifting the focus away from the issue and onto their emotional turmoil. This is a glimpse into the world of white fragility, where defensiveness often emerges when race is on the table. The term popularized by Robin DiAngelo, it kind of describes the discomfort and defensiveness some white people display when confronted with racial issues. It's probably a lot of times why race is something that's not um, discussed. It's not just about personal prejudice, it's about the systemic structures that grant privilege and the emotional reactions when those structures are questioned. When faced with discussions that challenge deeply held beliefs, much like Tom's in the beginning of our podcast, it's common to see reactions such as denial, uh, deflection, or even anger. These defense mechanisms can derail meaningful dialogue, shifting the conversation to protecting one's ego rather than addressing the core issues of race and inequality. Recognizing these signs of defensiveness is the first step to overcoming them. Denial often manifests as refuting the existence of racism. Racism doesn't exist, and it only exists, I guess, because you bring it up, so to speak, or downplaying its effects. Statements like, I don't see color, or racism isn't as bad as it used to be, these are common defense responses. Deflection, or deflection, I'm sorry, might involve changing the subject or pointing out other forms of discrimination to avoid discussing one's own role in racial dynamics. These behaviors, while often subconscious, can stifle progress and prevent genuine understanding. It identifies or works by identifying triggers and patterns of defensiveness, which can help you become more aware of how these behaviors emerge. Now, just reflect on the conversations where you felt defensive and consider what sparked those feelings. Was it a specific topic, a tone of voice, or a setting? Well, understanding your triggers can help you address them more proactively. To navigate these emotional reactions and foster openness, proactive listening or practicing active listening without immediately responding or defending your position is key. When you feel defensive, take a deep breath and focus on truly hearing the other person's perspective. That's active listening. This pause allows you to process the information without the immediate impulse to react. Uh, just this typically happens when people talk over each other. Engaging in self regulation techniques such as mindfulness or deep breathing exercises can also manage your emotional responses. These practices keep you to or teach you to remain calm and centered even when faced with challenging conversations. By regarding your emotions, you create a space for thoughtful reflection and response rather than those knee jerk reactions that escalate tension and impede your ability to understand. The power of vulnerability lies in its ability to open doors to authentic connections and personal growth. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you create an environment where genuine dialogue can flourish. So people need to see you as someone that, I may be wrong sometimes, I may be right. Uh, I may have some issues to deal with on my own personal base, but you know what? I can improve. Admitting when you don't know something or when you've made a mistake can be uncomfortable, but it demonstrates a willingness to learn and grow. This openness fosters trust and respect, both essential for building meaningful relationships, and you do this across racial and cultural lines. By embracing vulnerability, you acknowledge that you don't have all the answers and that learning is a continuous process, and that it should always be. This mindset encourages others to do the same by leading to richer, more productive conversations about, in this case, race. Vulnerability also propels personal growth. It kind of challenges you to confront your fears and your biases, ultimately contributing to a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. When you approach discussions with humility and openness, you invite others to share their experiences and perspectives, which paves the way for transformative change when it comes to race relations. All this leads to building an anti-racist personal network. This um, distinction between being non-racist and actively anti-racist, big difference here, is pivotal in the fight against racial injustice. While a, say, non-racist stance may involve abstaining from overtly racist actions, like joining a Ku Klux Klan rally or something, it often lacks the proactive engagement necessary to challenge the status quo. Okay, anti-racism, on the other hand, requires a commitment to actively oppose racism in all its forms. It's a conscious decision to engage in continuous learning and unlearning, recognizing that your understanding of race and racism is an ongoing thing, ongoing process. This approach demands that you educate yourself regularly on racial issues, staying informed about the historical and contemporary realities that face or that are faced by many of our marginalized communities. By doing so, you equip yourself with the knowledge needed to confront and dismantle racist ideas and a lot of racist practices. To foster any racist or anti racist mindset, start by making education a regular part of your life. You read a bunch of books and articles, listen to podcasts, watch documentaries. Documentaries, I'm sorry, should explore racial issues from diverse perspectives. Challenge yourself to step beyond your comfort zone and engage with materials that may initially unsettle you, but, in the long run, it makes you more in depth or deeper as far as perspective. This exposure can broaden your understanding, deepen your empathy for those who experience racism and go through it on a day to day basis. When you encounter racist remarks or behaviors, take a stand, say something about it, you know, and it doesn't have to be argumentative. Just say, hey, I think that may have been said differently. Speak up, even when it's uncomfortable, and use these moments to or as opportunities to educate others. By addressing racism head on, you demonstrate a commitment to creating a more inclusive environment. And that's what we always should try to strive for. It's not just about speaking up when it's easy, it's about doing this, speaking up, even when it's difficult or unpopular. When you're creating a personal action plan, it's crucial. A crucial step is maintaining your commitment to anti-racism. Begin by identifying your personal values, considering how they align with anti-racist actions. Remember, anti-racism is more attributed to actions and doing things about it. What principle guides your life, and how can you support your efforts to combat racism? I know in my case, my biggest principle is morality. Some people like to associate that or say that has a lot to do with spirituality, but I think morality is even more. You're not even told by way of spiritual religion or spiritual beliefs that you must do this or that because it's better in the eyes of God. Great, if that makes you moral. But if you can take it internally and not necessarily have any motivations other than the fact that you just want to do good over evil, and you contribute to morality that way, I see that as being a little more um, focused in the sense that you pull that from yourself. You didn't have to pull it from any type of belief or anything that forces you. Like, for instance, I'm good because I want to go to heaven. Well, maybe you should be good because you just want to be good. I do things that advocate positive things in life because I want God to smile on me and give me a mansion, robe, and crown in heaven. Well, you should do that anyway without any type of intrinsic or, well, not intrinsic, but extrinsic rewards. Just be good to be good. Once you have clarity on your values, set realistic, measurable goals that reflect this commitment. Now, these goals should be specific, of course, and accountable, providing a clear path forward. For instance, you might aim to volunteer with a local organization that supports racial justice or pledge to donate a little bit of your income to BIPOC led initiatives. Keep track of your progress and hold yourself accountable, adjusting your goals and as needed to remain effective in your advocacy. Allyship plays a pivotal role in an anti-racist network. As an ally, you can have the opportunity to support marginalized communities in meaningful ways. This includes more than just passive support. It requires active engagement and advocacy. Like I said before, support BIPOC-led organizations by donating your time, resources, your skills. These organizations often have a firsthand understanding of the challenges their communities face and can direct efforts where they are most needed. Additionally, participate in community advocacy efforts, joining rallies, forums, or campaigns that promote racial justice. Your presence and your voice usually can amplify the message and contribute to the momentum needed for change. There's a couple of books that I would suggest that should be able to assist us in our journey. Um, Books like How to Be Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi, White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo, podcasts much like my own, like Pod Save the People, Code Switch, both by NPR. Documentaries like The 13th Day by Ava DuVernay, I Am Not Your Negro by Raoul Peck. These are just a few resources that offer diverse perspectives and insights, encouraging deeper understanding and engagement with anti-racist work. By integrating these materials and much more into your routine, you enhance your ability to at least recognize and challenge racism on all its forms, and you contribute to a more equitable society. As we together build our anti-racist framework, remember that this work is not a one-time effort, but a lifelong commitment. It requires dedication, it requires humility, and a willingness to grow. By holding yourself accountable and actively engaging in anti-racist practices, you contribute to a collective effort to dismantle the systems that have contributed over the years to oppression and that persist in our society today. This chapter of our life is a new thing, and it helps us explore ways that can take personal responsibility when it comes to race relations, uh, helps us in setting the stage for further exploration of how these concepts can be applied to broader things in broader contexts. Probably on our next podcast, we will delve into constructive dialogues, conversations, and the importance of effective communication in fostering racial tolerance.